Welcome back to The Explainer. So, let's just dive right in. Picture this. You've spent hours, maybe even days, deep into recon. You've mapped out the entire attack surface, you're in Burp Suite tweaking parameters, and then, boom, you find it. A totally valid, high-impact vulnerability. It's an absolute rush, right? But here's the reality check. Finding the bug, that's really only half the battle. If you can't communicate what you found effectively, well, you're just not going to get paid, period. So today, we're going through a full masterclass on exactly how to write the absolute perfect bug bounty report. Because honestly, there is a hard truth in this industry. A perfect bug with a bad report gets downgraded. A mediocre bug with a great report gets paid. Literally millions of dollars in bounties are left on the table every single year just because of poor communication. It's crazy. Beginners often lose out not because their hacking skills are bad, but because the reports are, well, messy. They're unclear, where they just completely fail to show the actual risk. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. Why bug reports matter. 2. The anatomy of a report. 3. A step-by-step IDOR example. 4. Perfecting the evidence. And 5. Fatal mistakes you need to avoid. All right, section 1. Let's talk about why bug reports actually matter. The most crucial thing to wrap your head around is this. A bug report is basically a professional sales pitch. It is definitely not just a technical brain dump where you throw a massive wall of logs into a text box and cross your fingers. Remember, the person reading your report on the other side, whether it's HackerOne or BugCrowd, is usually a highly stressed, overworked triage engineer. Their main goal? To validate your issue as fast as possible. So your goal is to sell them on the bug's validity and severity, making their job as easy as humanly possible. Moving on to section 2, the anatomy of a report. Okay, so every professional grade report is built on a very strict foundation. You absolutely need a title, an executive summary for the leadership team, a technical description breaking down the root cause, repeatable steps to reproduce, a visual proof of concept, an impact analysis, and finally, remediation steps. If you're missing even one of these core building blocks, man, your submission is probably going to be delayed, downgraded, or just flat out rejected. Think about your title as your absolute first impression. Something like XSS on target.com. Yeah, that tells the triager practically nothing about this cross-site scripting bug. But look at the second one, stored XSS on example.com via first name parameter. See the difference? That immediately tells the security engineer the exact what in the where. It's concise, it's highly descriptive, and it sets a super professional tone right from the jump. And then we get to the impact section. This is honestly where so many hunters completely drop the ball. Look, impact is about what a real attacker could actually do, not just some textbook definition. Seriously, I strongly advise against just copying and pasting OWASP definitions. Do not just say, a server-side request forgery vulnerability allows internal port scanning. Nobody wants to read that. Instead, you need to highlight the real-world business damage. Write the newspaper headline, explain exactly what data is at risk and what that actually means for the company's bottom line. Which brings us to section 3. Let's look at a step-by-step IDOR example. Now, just to make sure we're all completely on the same page here, an IDOR, or Insecure Direct Object Reference, happens when a web app exposes a direct reference to an internal object, like a file or database ID, and pairs that with a weak access control system. So essentially, the server just completely fails to check if the user making the request actually owns the resource they're asking for. So how exactly do we write this up? Listen, the step-by-step reproduction is hands down the most critical part of your entire report. You've got to paste this like a live hack, starting from a clean, completely unauthenticated state. So, step 1, navigate to the target and log in with account user_A. Step 2, go to the settings dashboard. Step 3, capture the request to the update email endpoint in Burp Suite. And now for the exploit. Step 4, change the user ID parameter from 123 to 124. Step 5, observe that the email for user B, who is ID 124, has been changed completely without authorization. Boom. It's clear, it's precise, and it is effortlessly repeatable. Right, so once you've laid out those steps perfectly, you have to articulate the impact of that specific IDOR if you want to secure that maximum bounty. Does this unauthorized change lead to a full-blown account takeover? Does it expose personally identifiable information, PII? Or maybe it can be used for privilege escalation, bumping a standard guest account all the way up to an admin. Connecting the technical flaw to one of these massive business risks is exactly how you turn a mediocre payout into a critical, high-paying reward. All right, section 4, perfecting the evidence. Rule number 1 here, never, ever submit a report without concrete visual proof. A proof of concept, or POC, needs to be a reliable, minimized visual demonstration of the exploit. We're talking annotated screenshots where you literally draw bright red boxes around the vulnerable parameter. For more complex attack chains, like cross-site request forging, it means short video recordings, and keep them under 2 minutes. Please, no background music, no unnecessary typing. It also means including raw HTTP logs or sanitized crawl commands so the engineer can see the exact headers and body you used. Don't make them guess. To give you an idea of how seriously companies take this, let's look at Microsoft's bug bounty quality levels. A low-quality report that has no reliable POC and basically just gives the bare minimum. A medium report provides a reliable and minimized POC. But a high-quality report, that includes a detailed, spot-on analysis of the vulnerability where reproduction does not rely on a debugger or complex memory modifications. You really want to be aiming for high every single time. And keeping with this whole theme of evidence and reproduction, I want you to keep this number permanently burned into your memory. 5. If a triager cannot reproduce your bug in 5 minutes using the exact steps and evidence you provided, they are very likely going to mark it as needs more info or just downgrade it to informational. Honestly, time is money, both for you and for the triage team. Okay, last one, Section 5, fatal mistakes you absolutely need to avoid. Let's rapid fire through some technical mistakes that basically guarantee a $0 payout. Did you report a self-XSS as a stored XSS? Rejected. Did you completely ignore the scope documentation? Because look, finding a flawless SQL injection on an out-of-scope dev site means you are getting paid absolutely nothing. Please just spend the 15 minutes to read the scope. Also, are you testing with real user data? That is a massive terms of service violation. Did you leave test uploads and junk comments behind? Come on, clean up your mess. And then, of course, we have the strategic blunders. Submitting vague titles, that's just going to delay your payout. Arguing with the triage team about severity before they've even implemented a fix, oh man, that just burns vital goodwill with the security team. Switching targets every 2 hours because you didn't find a bug instantly is just going to exhaust you. And the absolute cardinal sin, disclosing a vulnerability publicly on a blog or on Twitter before the standard 90-day timeline or without explicit program approval, that is a one-way ticket to getting permanently banned. So, to wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with one incredibly powerful self-triage question. Before you ever hit that submit button, ask yourself, if I were the developer, could I fix this bug based only on this report? If the answer is no, keep writing. Put in the extra effort because your next perfect report could absolutely be the one that lands you a life-changing bounty. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.